From Evoke Media, I'm Sabrina Mirage Naeem. With me is Cassia Binkowski, and this is Breaking Glass, a series of conversations with women around the world who are shattering glass ceilings and challenging social norms. They are audacious, gutsy, and their stories are echoed across borders and generations in a rallying cry that is changing the narrative for women everywhere. Today we take you to Kenya to speak with Dr. Winnie Kiru, the founder of Conservation Kenya and a world-renowned wildlife conservationist. Dr. Winnie has been in the field of wildlife and environmental conservation for more than 25 years, and her research focuses specifically on human-elephant interactions and coexistence solutions.
Sabrina, I have to admit that we weren't totally sure what role gender was going to play in wildlife conservation. We were kind of curious going into this conversation, and we walked away more convinced than ever that creating space at the table for women, and specifically in leadership positions, is going to transform the industry. I don't know about you, but Winnie definitely convinced me that the future of the planet really does hang in the balance now more than ever.
100%. And this is something we see across every industry and every country. I mean, Dr. Winnie is one of the only Black women in Africa to be a leader in the conservation world. And we really think you'll enjoy this conversation. Take a listen. Dr. Winnie Kiru, thank you so much for joining us from Kenya. It's such a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you very much. It is a pleasure to be invited to be with you. Thank you.
So today we're really excited to jump into the conversation about women's activism in particular in your field in environmental and animal conservation. So Amboseli is an elephant conservation organization in Kenya. And your role is looking to create more coexistence between humans and elephants. Tell us a little bit more about your role there. We're very curious to understand some more about your work.
Thank you. So Amboseli is actually a very small national park just to the southwest of Kenya. And the communities around Amboseli are the pastoralist Maasai people. And my role as a conservationist is really to work with the community who have lived for years with wildlife and to really discuss the changing issues. Remember today that people are having to share a lot more of their space with wildlife. So while traditionally there were just a lot less people, a lot more space, now we are talking about wildlife existing in what would be called human-dominated landscapes. This brings a whole lot of different challenges, and for different groups, for women, for children, for men. So our role in Amboseli, and especially my organization, Conservation Kenya, is to really have conversations around how can people coexist with wildlife.
So take us back, Dr. Winnie. Tell us a little bit more about your childhood. Where did you grow up? What did that look like?
So I grew up in central Kenya, and I must say that I wanted to be a veterinary doctor when I grew up. And it wasn't because we had a lot of pets or anything. It's because whenever the veterinary doctor came to my grandmother's home, everything stopped. We scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed the house, made the best tea, and made sure that wherever he was going to sit was beautifully done. So then he would come in and be treated like royalty, and he would go and treat the cows, and then sit and have this cup of tea. And my grandmother used to make the most wonderful sweet potatoes. So I thought, if really I want to be treated like royalty when I grow up, I need to be a veterinary doctor. But then to become a veterinary doctor was very difficult. In fact, very few girls made the grades for vet school because most girls' schools emphasize arts as opposed to science subjects that would lead you to veterinary medicine. So when I went to high school, it became obvious I would never make the grades to be a vet doctor. So I ended up in university studying education, and I basically became a biology teacher. And that maybe is what started me off on the path as a wildlife conservationist. I must also say that my father liked to travel the country a lot. So he took us to national parks and I saw wildlife, but he didn't know wildlife in a way that he could introduce behavior, what they were doing. So actually the trips to the park were a little bit boring. It's only later on when I interacted with scientists who had worked with wildlife, especially elephants, for a long time, that I started to appreciate they were not just animals standing on stilts. They had behavior, they were unique. There are things that I used to see, but I didn't understand. And so I slowly grew into appreciating wildlife and studying wildlife. So it wasn't a natural progression. It was really, I was very lucky that when I studied biology and then later joined the Kenya Wildlife Service, I found wonderful mentors, good scientists, who introduced me to wildlife in a very unique way. Not just the science, but also the behavior and the compassionate side of wildlife.
And you are known as one of the only Black women in Africa to really be a leader in wildlife conservation. Most are white men. Is that correct?
Well, I must say that whenever I go to a gathering of regular Kenyan women, and everybody goes around the table and they say what they do, and then I say, I'm an elephant biologist. I basically studied elephants. In many places, I am considered an elephant expert. They look at me like, you're what? And often I'm wearing earrings and necklaces with elephants on them. But a lot of people just don't even think that that is possible, and especially women. And this is because historically, wildlife has been viewed on the back of tourism. And in Africa, the tourist is basically a white person, often a man, and often quite old. So now to understand how you could even go into the field and then study wildlife and make a living out of it is extremely difficult for the regular Kenyan person to even understand. Now, this is a problem all across Africa because for the longest time, wildlife has been viewed as something it's a luxury for the visitors, for foreigners. For women, it means spending a lot of time in the outdoors, spending a lot of time in dangerous places, spending a lot of time away from home, spending a lot of time with a lot of men. And so it doesn't lend itself to, the stereotype of what a woman should be, a mother who stays home with the children, or someone who is a homemaker. Because I can tell you, I have spent a lot of time in the bush. When I was employed, my first job was evaluating the number of elephants that were left in Kenyan forests. I was spending 2-3 weeks charging through the forest, counting elephant dung piles to try and estimate numbers of elephants by converting the dung piles that we saw into a sort of estimate.
It's very glamorous. It sounds very glamorous.
That's not something that women want to do. Yes. And it was dangerous as well. Yeah.